Indiana basketball loses to Iowa on the road 85-60. And there's no other way to say it. This was embarrassing.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. This is a bonus weekend reaction episode for you on the Locked On Hoosiers YouTube channel and on your audio podcasting platforms as well. Indiana basketball goes on the road to take on Iowa 85-60. The team was there. We showed up to at least tip the game off and play for 40 minutes, but we didn't show up and play for 40 minutes. And we were not there to win the basketball game. 85-60 final score. This was embarrassing. I mean, this was old school. This was to a T, Mike Woodson, Indiana basketball. You come out flat. You go up 4-0 to start the game. You then give up an 11-0 run because you can't keep the ball in your own hands. You turn it over to the other team. And that was pretty much the story of the entire game. The first half was built with a ton of runs. The second half was just lazy and just unmotivated. And we let a good, not great, Iowa team run all over us 85-60. And it looked like the Mike Woodson teams of old. It looked like nothing that we have seen for the past 5 games. And that's what really gets me going about this sort of a game because, man, going into it, when the game got closer, I just started to have a bad feeling. And not saying I called this or anything because I definitely didn't see this happening. It just started to feel and remind me of those games we've seen under Mike Woodson here at Indiana. Road game in the conference, Saturday night. Everybody's watching. And it was one of those where I was going into it thinking, we typically don't play well in these types of scenarios against a good shooting team. I would say one of the hottest teams offensively in the country coming into this thing. Let me tell you what Iowa has done on offense in their past handful of games. Are you ready for this? Here's their point totals for Iowa in their past 6 games. 104, 95, 112, 85, 97, and then 85 against Indiana. So probably one of the hottest offensive teams in America. And we don't typically play well in these types of games. We haven't in the last 3 or so years. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. We let them shoot open threes. We let them make open threes. We let them go on 10, 12, 14, 16-point runs because we simply couldn't take care of the basketball. We took horrifically bad shots. And by the last, 15 minutes of this basketball game on the game clock, rather, we just didn't want to be there. We wanted to go home. We were done. We were cooked. We gave up. We quit playing because we were beat and we knew it. And Indiana just flat out got railed on the road against Iowa. It was a combination of things. And I've mentioned the turnover several times already because that's what allowed Iowa to get the lead in the first place. I thought we did a really good job at getting back and closing that gap. And all of a sudden, it's a tie game. All of a sudden, Indiana's got a quick lead there in that first half. And then they did it again. And by that point, you're down by 10 at the half. Did anybody have confidence in us coming back at the half down by 10? I didn't. Not with the way that it ended. And sure enough, you get outscored by 10 in the first half, 15 in the second half, and you lose by 25 on the road. Some of the quick stats here. Hoosiers, we had just 2 in double digits. It was Myles Rice. Most of his came very early in the ball game. Also had Oumar Ballo with just the 10. Nobody else had double digits. Bryson Tucker had 9. Cannon Carlisle had 9. And heck, I thought we were off to a great start. Cannon Carlisle knocked down that corner 3, had the free throw line jumper, I believe. And I was like, Cannon Carlisle's back. Everything's good. This is a great sign. No, that was it. That was pretty much all she wrote. Trey Galloway doesn't score. Anthony Leo has just 3. Mackenzie Mbako had a bad game again. Luke Goody had a bad game again. Langdon Hatton actually played fairly well. Went 3 for 3 from the floor, had 8 points. Also had a couple of free throws as well, had 3 rebounds. I think Landon Hatton played better than most on this Indiana team tonight against Iowa. And speaking of Iowa offensively for them, just quick numbers here. You had, how many is that? 5 Hawkeyes were in double digits, including Sanford with 23. You had Freeman with 16, a couple of Hawkeyes with 12. Harding had 10, another had 8. It was, just such a bad performance all the way around. We couldn't figure out a 2-3 zone. We couldn't figure out how to score against it, how to move the basketball against it. They didn't do anything crazy, Woody. And yet, we just passed around the perimeter. We just passed it around, take bad shots, turn it over, throw it to the wrong colored team. And Iowa destroys us 85-60. And then defensively for Indiana, we just let them have way too many open shots. Our communication was bad. Our effort getting back on defense was bad. And we just let them get in our heads. And I think Oumar Ballo's struggles offensively led to his struggles defensively. Did anybody see this? Did anybody see early in this basketball game when Iowa would go up for layups or get into the lane, rather than contesting, Oumar Ballo would pull off. He would put his hands in the air as if, don't call a foul on me, please. Please don't call a foul on me. Did anybody else see that in this game? He played a little scared. And I have to think that is because he's the only true big that we have, with Malik Renew, of course, not playing again, and Langdon Hatton being the other one that we have. It seemed like Oumar Ballo was playing a little scared defensively. And we let them get way too many open shots. They shot 54% from the floor at Iowa. Indiana, we shot 41. Iowa knocked down 46% of their threes. Indiana, we made just 25%, 4 of 16 from downtown. Free throw percentage was terrible. We also didn't get there enough either. 8 of 13 from the line. 16 turnovers on the road in the Big Ten. That won't do it for Indiana. 24 points for Iowa off of our turnovers. I'm sorry, how many did we lose by? 25. Take care of the basketball, Indiana. You do that on the road, you actually have a chance to win. If you get to the free throw line and knock them down, you actually have a chance to win. If you figure out how to pressure and defeat a 2-3 zone, you might have a chance to win. But Indiana didn't do that. We also got out-rebounded 37-31. Just unbelievable. Unbelievable what Indiana was unable to do in this game. We were just beat all the way around. All the way around. And it was embarrassing to watch. And so the question now becomes, what next? What does Indiana have coming up? How can we somehow forget about this game and move on from a 25-point embarrassment on the road? We'll talk about that coming up next right here on Locked on Hoosiers. Today's bonus episode of Locked on Hoosiers is brought to you by Prize Picks. This message is brought to you by Prize Picks, the place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions in winnings. Prize Picks has changed the game in daily fantasy sports. Whether it's playoffs or regular season, Prize Picks has made it easier than ever to win big while enjoying all the football action. Now that it's playoff time, there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks. Here's how it works. You simply pick more or less on at least 2 players. And if your pick hit, you could win up to 1,000 times your cash. Yes, that's right. 1,000 times your money just by making a few simple picks. For me, I'm all about the hot takes this season. You've got playoff games for the NFL that happen on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, 1 on Monday as well, plus college basketball is going really well. There's a lot to get in on the action with Prize Picks around the NFL playoffs. So ready to run your game this football season? Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 just for playing. Don't wait. Take your game to the next level with Prize Picks. Prize Picks. Run your game. Today's bonus episode of Locked on Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to get in on the action, especially with the NFL playoffs going on. You can bet on who you think is going to win, who you think is going to score the first touchdown, who's going to score the last touchdown. Does anybody score a touchdown? You can do all of that on FanDuel. So just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, welcome back into this bonus episode, a reaction episode of Locked on Hoosiers, your daily Monday through Friday Indiana Hoosiers podcast. If you're just now joining us, first time here, appreciate you joining us. Appreciate you being here on this Locked on Hoosiers episode. Whether you're listening on a podcast audio platform like Spotify or Amazon or Apple, or whether you're on the YouTube side watching the video version, really do appreciate your support and everything that you're doing so far. And hopefully you continue to be here. And for my everydayers, you know I love you guys and appreciate your support very, very much. This podcast comes out Monday through Friday, free to you, however you want to get it. So be sure you have your subscription, be sure that you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. You have those notifications turned on. That's what we wanted to say. Turn those notifications on so you never miss episodes just like this one on the weekends and bonus episodes throughout the week as well. Indiana falls to Iowa 85-60 on the road. An embarrassment is the best way that I can describe it, where we just didn't want to be there. After we got punched in the mouth several times and after the first 20 minutes, we didn't want to be there. We were ready to get on the plane and get back to Bloomington. And so what's next for Indiana? How in the world do we forget about this? How do we bounce back? How do we move on? Because this game doesn't represent the way that we had been playing. This game does not display how we have been performing in the previous 5 games, which is why it's sort of shocking to me that we played this way. But then if you remember who this is and who the head coach is, then it's not as surprising, right? But I think overall for this team, again, a 5-game win streak coming into this thing, it's disappointing is the best way for me to say this. And so moving forward for Indiana, coming up in the midweek, you've got a top 15 team coming to town. Illinois steps into Assembly Hall coming up in the midweek. Remember, Illinois just got beat by USC by 10, a team that Indiana just beat in this past midweek. So Big Ten's getting crazy out there, and so is college basketball. So Illinois comes to town. That's on the 14th for Indiana. Then we go to Ohio State. Then we go to Northwestern before we come home for Maryland. Those are our next 4 games. Then you end the month of January on the 31st on the road at Purdue. Here's how I feel about those games. If you play the way you did against USC or Penn State, you got a good chance to win some of those games. I think you can hang with Illinois. I don't think they're all that great. They're great defensively. They struggle offensively at times. I think against Ohio State and Northwestern on the road, you're going to have to play a heck of a lot better than you did tonight. You're going to have to play a heck of a lot better than you did in this game against Iowa. You can't have 16 turnovers and allow them to score 24 points off of those. You have to find ways to get Oumar Ballo the basketball. You have to find ways to knock down your shots. And if Malik Renew is able to come back, you've got to get him into the fold as well. Home against Maryland, that's one you need to win. And then you go on the road to Purdue, and we'll see what that game looks like when it comes around. But my goodness, I hope this was a fluke. I hope this was just something we needed to get out of our system in Big Ten play, because the team that we've been seeing was not what we saw in this game. And let me say this too, that Iowa team played really, really good. And I continue to say I think they're one of the hottest shooting teams in the country right now. But that was your prime Iowa team. They play defense, they run, and they knock down shots. That's what Iowa does. When you think of Iowa basketball, what we just saw was it to a T. And they executed perfectly. And Indiana flat out got embarrassed, and we didn't want to be there. And it's time that we move on. We'll have more of this coming up on Monday's show, a full, deeper breakdown of this, plus possibly more football news and continuing to react to all the transfer portal things that Curt Cignetti and Indiana have done throughout this offseason. All of that will be on a full Locked on Hoosiers episode coming out on Monday. Again, I thank you for being here on a bonus episode late Saturday night or into Sunday, whichever day that you're coming across this. Really, really do appreciate you being here. Audio listeners on your podcasting platforms, follow, subscribe, leave 5-star reviews, and have your notifications turned on. And for those of you on the YouTube side, like this video. I know you've got thoughts, so let's go ahead and drop them in the comments down below. And if you're not already, subscribe to the channel. We're making another push for 4,400 subscribers now, and you can be a big part of that. So thank you so much. We are back on Monday for a full episode, okay? So until then, Hoosier fans, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.